Good afternoon, Internet. Good afternoon, Facebook. Good afternoon, YouTube. It's Alex Hall of Alex Hall & Realty. And today, I'm here to talk to you about the all-important question as to why it is that houses sometimes take way too long to sell than they should, and why it is that Facebook marketing is fantastically good news for you if you're a home seller. But before we get to that, allow me to start with a very important question. Have you ever wondered why it is that sometimes really beautiful houses can go on the market and they can be advertised and marketed by really good agents who know what they're doing, and yet the house can still sit on the market for months and months and months, sometimes even years? Well, naturally, there are a lot of reasons for that. And if we're going to go through that in detail, that might take a very long time. But if I could just summarize the basic, essential reason why it takes too long from the agent's point of view, mainly it's because when it's going on for too long, the agent is wasting far too much time speaking to the wrong buyers, i.e. those people who just aren't interested, and not enough time talking to the right people, i.e. those people who actually want the house, who are able to buy a house, who are looking for a house that matches the description of their client. Now, this brings me to the question as why it is that Facebook marketing is so exciting. Excuse me whilst I just look through my notes. Now, in order to explain why it is that Facebook marketing is so exciting, I just want to take you back to ancient times, you know, before the invention of the iPhone, and talk to you about how marketing was done in the old times. Now, and to a certain extent how they still are. Now, to give you an analogy of what I'm talking about, imagine, hypothetically, let's just exit the world of real estate for just a moment. Imagine that you're trying to sell something privately, for the sake of argument, a car that is effectively brand new. Let's pretend that you bought it new, you've driven it exactly once, and then you've parked it in the car for a certain period of time in the garage, and you decide you're going to sell it. Well, imagine that you've got a totally unlimited advertising budget, and that you were somehow given permission to put enormous billboards on either side of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Well, if you're going to do that, you're certainly going to get a lot of people seeing your ad. How many people? Well, something like 150,000 cars use the Harbour Bridge every day, which means that if you consider a lot of people go in both directions to and from work, you're likely to get at least 300,000 views of that ad every day. And if you were to do that for, let's say, 6 weeks, and I've made some notes on these numbers, that would mean that you would end up having, after 6 weeks, the conservative 150,000 views per day, something like 6.3 million views of your ads. Now, you'd think that would be very exciting. And with that number of views, you'd certainly get a lot of attention. However, the bad news in that scenario, if you were able to do it, would be that at any given time, something like only 5% of the population, I could be wrong with that number, but let's assume that I'm right, only 5% of the population are looking for a brand new car. Now, if that is so, that means in this scenario, if you're able to do it, you would have paid an enormous amount of money for an ad that was going to be potentially seen by millions of people, but substantially irrelevant to 95% of the people seeing it. Now, that is what old-fashioned advertising was like. In the words of my good friend Aaron Shiner, it was a case of spray and pray. You spread the message far and wide and you just hope that the relevant people are going to see it. But by contrast, let's imagine in the same scenario that you're able to put up a special kind of advertising billboard that magically had the ability to only be visible to those people who are actually interested in buying a car in the next 30 days. Now, if that were the case, you might get less views, but you'd get far more relevant views. Now, imagine still further that you're able to narrow that audience down to those people who are only interested in buying your particular brand of car. Now, if that was the case, again, you'd get less views, but again, the views would be more relevant. You want to get even more specific than that. Imagine if the ad was only visible to those people who wanted not only your brand of car, but your actual model of car. And imagine if it was only visible to them if they're wanting to buy it in the next 30 days. Now, if you had that ability, how long do you think the car would take to sell? The answer, of course, is not very long. Which brings us back to real estate. In the old days of real estate, the way that you would sell a house would be the old spray and pray approach. You'd have ads in the paper, you'd have ads on websites like Real Estate Domain, etc., and people who were wanting to go to the real estate section would go if you put ads in the paper, but everybody else would literally not even see the ad. And so you'd be paying large amounts of money for people, most of whom weren't going to see it, because in real estate, something like 5% of the population only are interested or in real estate mode. But this is where things get exciting, because with Facebook advertising, you have the ability to target the advertising to the most relevant demographic. How is that exciting for you? Well, if we go back to the Harbour Bridge scenario, it is pretty much exactly what you can do with real estate, because the demographics in Facebook allow us to market to people who, in the eyes of Facebook, are most likely to be wanting to buy a house. They're most likely to be wanting to buy a house in your suburb, potentially in your price range. How can we do this? Well, Facebook can give us the ability to advertise to certain age and area demographics. So, hypothetically, if you know that the likely buyers of your house are going to be investors between the age of, say, 35 to 50, and you happen to know where they live, you can target those buyers. Now, on the other hand, if you're selling, let's say, a one-bedroom unit, that would be really useful for either newly married couples or investors, and you happen to know where they live, you can target those people. And the more information you have, the more specific you can get. So what does this mean? It means that instead of paying big money for ads that are going to be substantially irrelevant to almost everybody who sees it, you can pay money that is going to end up in the eyes pretty much only of those people who want to see it. And given that Facebook advertising is opt-in, that is, it comes in the form of ads that you can either view or ignore at your own discretion, as you're probably aware, it means that you've got a much greater certainty of reaching the right buyers, which means that you've got a much greater chance of attracting the right buyers to your open, much greater chance of dealing with committed, serious buyers, and therefore a much greater chance of selling your home for what it really should be worth, i.e. for the best possible price in the shortest amount of time. So basically, this is, if you're a home seller, this is a whole new world, and these are very, very exciting days. Anyway, I hope that I've encouraged you, I hope I've inspired you. If you found this video to be helpful, to be relevant, to be interesting, then feel free to like the video or to leave comments in the box below. And just in case you're watching this and you happen to be thinking about selling your home yourself, then feel completely free to contact me. If you are in that category, I've got a really helpful free gift for you, a book called You Sold For How Much, which is a book that I co-wrote about how to sell your house for best price. And I'd love to give it to you. So feel free to visit my website, www.alexhallteam.com.au. But for now, I commend you to a fantastic afternoon and a future of boundless abundance. This is Alex Hall coming to you live from Castle Hill in Sydney, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks so much.